I'm Joshua Kemble, and this is day 18 of the 100 Days of Making Comics. The 100 Days of Making Comics is a challenge started by Kevin Cross where you're supposed to spend 30 minutes a day minimum on your own personal projects, a comic book in the case of the 100 Days of Making Comics, for 100 consecutive days. And so that means I've managed to do 18 consecutive days of working on my comic, which hasn't been an insane challenge at this point because I do tend to work on my comic on a daily basis and have built in that habit. The one thing that's a little unusual about this challenge, not this habit, is the fact that occasionally you will take like a day off here or there, especially in the weekend. And so this has really forced me to kind of to really focus in and kind of spend every single day on my comic. The other big challenge has been these videos, but I've managed to keep at it for now 18 days straight, and so I'm pretty excited. So today was pretty cool. I worked on at my work as an art director. It was a really busy day. It went by super fast. I had to stay overtime by like 30 minutes, but I didn't even notice. Next thing you knew, it was like 5:30 and I was off. So once I got off work, my whole drive home, I've basically been really pumped because there was about this point in the day, it was like about 3 o'clock, where I went on a 10-minute break, and I was just kind of starting to feel a little antsy about the upcoming show that I have, that I'm a part of at Gallery 1988. So I did a piece, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, from my previous vlogs, I was invited to be a part of this official Monty Python inspired art show at Gallery 1988. So all the artwork in it has actually been approved and curated by Monty Python, which is kind of cool. And so I jumped at the chance. I did a piece that was inspired by one of my favorite bits by Monty Python, which is from their show Flying Circus. It's the world's funniest joke, and I got approved, and I got to put the Monty Python license on my prints, and I'll be in that show on Friday. And then today, I just started feeling kind of antsy. I'll explain why I feel antsy. Because it's Monty Python. They're like one of my favorite comedy groups in the world. I grew up like loving Monty Python. They kind of formed my sense of humor. A lot of my first friends in like 7th, 8th, all the way to early college friends, a lot of those friendships were formed based on our love for Monty Python. Like we'd just hang out and quote Monty Python a bunch. And I mean, there's just so many iconic things that they've done in comedy, and especially on the show Flying Circus. It's just unbelievable the amount of classic jokes that are in that. I mean, you have everything from the dead parrot sketch to the world's funniest joke, right? To like the fish slapping dance, to the Ministry of Silly Walks, to like one of my favorite bits, which is this guy who always sees double, but for some he sees two of everything. And for some reason he decided with this sight problem he'd become a mountain climber, and so he starts talking and plotting his plan to scale between the peaks of Kilimanjaro or something. And it's so good. It's just like all of their bits are hilarious and classic, and really kind of formed a huge part of my personality. And like, so when I think about people and celebrities or comedians or musicians or actors or people who've really had a massive impact and influence on my life, like Monty Python is not far down on the list. Like they're one of the biggest influences in my life, and it's weird to even acknowledge that. I don't even think I realized that until I kind of got the approved license that I could actually put on my art. Like I was like, I've done licensed art before for like Spider-Man and for stuff that I'd be like geeked out about, but for some reason this felt different because it was like, this is Python. It's actually Python. And then like today at 3 I was starting to feel nervous because I'm like, okay, the show's this Friday. I haven't seen anything on their site talking about the show opening. Maybe maybe it got canceled. Like all my paranoid brain just started gearing and going crazy and stuff with it. And then I look on Monty Python's official Facebook and their official Twitter, and they mentioned the show. They were like, "Hey, we worked with Gallery 1988 to put together this art show," and I was like, it just kind of popped this thing in my brain. So I've just been stoked and excited and amped by it, and I'm so excited. So the show opens on Friday, this Friday, and it goes from 7 to 9, and it's at Gallery 1988, and that's February 2nd. So I'm super excited. I requested the day off because I want to be able to enjoy the day and just kind of go into the weekend. There supposedly is talk of actual members of Python showing up, and I'm just excited about seeing the other art too, because Gallery 1988 is a really good gallery. They show a lot of really cool artists, and a lot of illustrators I've really admired for years are going to be in there, and then there's my stuff, which is surreal. It's really cool. So I'm excited. I hope it goes well. And I'm just like so honored and stoked to be a part of this thing that like Python actually mentioned, which is crazy. I don't get that way about a lot of things, but for some reason with them in particular, it's just on a whole different level. So that kind of just gave me all this juice to like keep going, because even going to the gallery show and being a part of it was all the result of a decision I made a few years back to start saying yes to things, yes to opportunities, because I had been in art and illustration for so long that I was starting to say no to a lot of things that could have been fun or could have had a benefit for my career. Didn't really have a lot of loss involved in the equation, and for some reason I would just be like, I'm too busy working on my comic, I don't have time, and turn things down. And yet there's just been such a positive return for the fact of just being open to like taking opportunities when they come, and this is one of them. Like now I'm in an art show that was mentioned by Monty Python. Like, unbelievable. All right. Enough of that rambling about the Monty Python show. So now what I have to do is clean up my comic page. So I'm going to show you a time lapse of me basically hitting an eraser over my inks, and then I actually don't have a lot of big areas of black, so I don't think I'll have to retouch the black on the physical page. And then I'm going to show you some time lapse and also some explanation of how I scan and clean up a comic book page once I'm to that stage of like having it finished inked. Because a lot of people have been like, you work on these really big comic pages, how do you scan them, how do you piece them together, how do you deal with tiling? Because I do have to tile the page down. I have a large format printer, but I'll show you guys. So before I get into it now and over explain myself way too early, let's go take a look and get this page cleaned up. That is actually the size I work in. How do I get all of this on to here? The answer is you don't. You basically scan it in fourths, and I'll show you how that works on a large format scanner. So basically it's an all-in-one printer slash scanner, and it does multi-page scanning. It's one of the HP OfficeJet series, and basically it's got a nice large 13 by 19 scanner. So here's the big secret to basically getting this large page onto this. And make sure the page is nice and flush. You'll notice it's carrying outside of the scanner. And I close it up. So I basically want to make sure that I'm scanning in color and that it's 300 DPI. And then I'm basically making sure none of the auto correction stuff is there, and I usually will title it based on the page that it is. So it's one corner of the page. Scan. So once the scanning is done, I end up with like a bunch of different files that look kind of like this. And so what I need to do is basically put all of those pages together, and I'll show you how I do that. So my computer has been taking forever. I don't know if you guys are aware, but I'm working on a computer that's almost 10 years old. And this process usually takes about maybe 5 minutes. So what I do once I have it overlaid is basically just hit it with an eraser like this. Make sure it's a soft-edged eraser. And I was actually saving one page to tile just so you could see kind of the process of that as well into my new file. So then you end up with this panel that doesn't really fit. So what I do is in my toolbar I go to Layers, Multiply. How to kind of line this up. So I'll find like areas that line up, like this hand is a really good area to look. I can get that. I use the arrow tools to just kind of move it to where it's pretty darned accurate. And that is pretty close, so I'm actually going to go with it. So that's going to go to normal. Now the downside of scanners is usually the edges, like you'll see right here, these edges are like really dark. But the nice thing about scanning at such a large size is I can get rid of those edges with my soft edge eraser, and I'm going to have a pretty clean looking piece that looks very close to the original. Okay, so old computer, I basically had to restart the Photoshop program. I really did want this to be a useful tutorial, but on an old computer it's just it's kind of difficult to do. So like I said, you go in with a soft brush and erase away the stuff that's not working so well. Okay. So once I'm done with that and my crazy computer is all done, it should look pretty seamless, but you're going to notice that it has a bunch of weird little spots and stuff. So you're going to see all these weird little like areas like this spot, that kind of thing. First, actually, I'm going to do some tricks. So trick number one is I make sure to flatten my image once I've got it straightened out. Basically at this point I've flattened everything to one layer, and now what I'm going to do is try to kind of get rid of some of the transparent areas. But the first thing I do is I actually do this little trick of cropping. So I wanted to do like a really quick tutorial on how to clean up your inks, but my computer is taking like 20 years and it's causing lags in basically everything. It would be the most boring content ever. So instead I'm going to show you a time lapse, and I mean literally like one step in the process is to use like rotate arbitrary on canvas, and I've been seeing basically that little swirly thing this whole time. So yeah, so I think unfortunately this time I'm just gonna have to show you time lapse, but I need to get my comics done. If you guys really want to see how it's done, there is a how to clean up your inks tutorial a little earlier, and there's not much in this that isn't shown in that process. I am so sorry. I thought even maybe using the video camera instead of the screen capture wouldn't slow it down, but it's just like on its last legs, and so I'm gonna just have to use what I can. I'm frankly kind of annoyed and sad that my computer's dying because we don't have the budget to replace it, but you gotta deal with what you got. And so I'm gonna continue to plug on, but instead of showing you a tutorial, I'm just going to show you time-lapse footage of basically the process of trying to do this page. So once this thing reboots up, because I had to restart it, it was just like freezing all the time. So hopefully the hard drive doesn't die and I can finish the next page. Alright, so finally finished cleaning up my inks. Sorry I couldn't show like a hardcore tutorial, but what I will show you right now is the JPEG result. Boom. So yeah, so that'll do it for day 18 of 100 days of making comics. I need a new computer, but other than that, everything's going well. So I hope all is going well with you guys out there, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Oh, and thanks for those of you who've subscribed, commented, and shared, and liked these videos. It helps a lot. Yeah, that's pretty much it.